7J.
I will be with whoever.
You gotta take us into space, we gotta save the human race, but first you gotta let us say goodbye.
So I've been kind of wanting to review this for a while, but 2018's version of Halloween, I just bought a copy on Google Play, and this is actually the second time I've seen it since I saw it in theaters, and I've just really been able to wrap my head around it now, and I just think that it's a really cool movie. It's a real return to form. Just from the very opening alone, where you have those two reporters, podcasters. They they look into unsolved murders, they interview people, they try to get an unbiased view on everything, and they show up to see Michael Myers while he's in the mental institution. It's sketchy because like these guys are sort of, or you know, this dude takes out Michael Myers' mask and is almost sort of provoking him. The second he holds up the mask, he turns his head ever so slightly, like he can feel it. All of the inmates start freaking out, and like the security dogs start barking, and it's just like havoc everywhere. And he's like, "Say something, Michael. Say something." Boom, it goes to the beginning credits and it says Halloween. I also liked the fact that the pumpkin, you know, was smashed basically at the beginning of the credits, and then as they go, it sort of starts to, you know, bloom back into a full jack-o'-lantern. And it's like the same design where there's kind of that screw up on the nose, and it really signals sort of like a rebirth of what the first one is supposed to be. The theme of the credits went with the opening of that movie, because the opening of that movie is a perfect example of like what Halloween is, or what Michael Myers is, or the Shape, as it were, as they call him in this one and in the first one. Is he supernatural? Could be. I mean, he does take an awful beating. He was shot how many times in the first one? Like 6. He falls off of a balcony. He gets stabbed in the eye with a coat hanger. He's one tough mofo. I mean, somebody could live through that. They could. I mean, most people would be out for the count, but it's sort of also about like the darkness of the human psyche, and does that and the supernatural almost sort of like meet at some plane? Like that's kind of like what the original Halloween gave you, and that's kind of the exact theme that they tried to harness right in the opening of this film. I like this movie because it took sort of like a realistic stance on what like Laurie Strode's character would be like after all these years. You know, she's an obsessed survivalist. She's an alcoholic. She's nervous. She's scared of being out in the public. Like, she's clearly still haunted by, and she doesn't even refer to him as Michael Myers. She refers to him as the Shape. There were certain criticisms that critics had about like too much humor being in the movie. I personally thought there was just the right amount, because this movie was pretty dark. I appreciated the doctor character in this movie because I did have several questions, and there were certain points where he kind of really sketched me out, but I was so like lulled into the comfort that, as Laurie said, he's the new Loomis, that I'm like, okay, he just is another dude who, you know, looked into Dr. Loomis's work and followed him and had an equal fascination and respect for Michael Myers, but that's not exactly true. And I liked that twist. I liked that they didn't just keep the formula totally the same. And it does, again, like the whole concept of the Halloween movies, the first one and this one, is the like human psyche. And it's sort of like that Nietzsche thing, you know, gaze not into the abyss, for when you do, the abyss gazes also into you. And like, battle not with monsters lest you become a monster yourself, kind of a deal. And I feel that Dr. Loomis from the first Halloween sort of like rode that line. He peered into the abyss, he drew his line in the sand, but like he had a respect for the power of human evil, but by the same token, he wasn't playing around. He was like, nope, kill him. Like, this guy was sort of like, no, let's study him, you know? So when it turns out that this guy's actually has like a sick fascination, like he's just a sick bastard, and he almost kind of like idolizes Michael Myers as like this force of nature. The ending scene is amazing. The final showdown between like 3 generations of Strode family and Michael Myers in this like bunker that Laurie has built. I would kind of like for them to stop it here, because it was just such a beautiful, like, went full cycle. But at this point, you know, Michael Myers and even the whole choose your own adventure aspect of all the movies that have come out in the franchise so far, it's almost more than just a movie thing. It's sort of like a legend now. The thing that you take with it is the Shape lives in all of us. It is the evil of humanity. It is ever present. It is elemental. It needs no explanation. It is just evil. Really, really, really enjoyed this movie, and I'm really happy to see that for the most part it got pretty good reviews.